Indiana has a chance to once again show the country that it is one of the best teams in college football as it has been since Curt Cignetti has taken over against a team that has been dominant in regular season play. Let's talk about number 6 Indiana at number 3 Oregon. What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. If this is your first time watching Adapt and Respond, thank you for joining us here. We talk college football year round. If you're into that, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, like the video, and answer the question in the comments below. Do you believe that Indiana can unseat Oregon at Autzen this weekend? And if they can, it is a tall ask. Oregon has been outstanding in regular season play. As a matter of fact, I was giving this some serious thought. Had we not had a college football playoff, had we not had a BCS championship, had we not really even had a Bowl Alliance coalition, and we just picked who the national champ is going to be based on who won the regular season, throwing out bowl games as well, you might pick Oregon, who went undefeated through all of their regular season play. They would not have won the Big Ten championship in that way, but they would have certainly been the team that we expect to win it outright, as they would have run the table undefeated, probably finished as the number 1 team, probably won their first national championship. But since we do have a postseason and a robust postseason at that, Oregon took a stumble against Ohio State, couldn't come back, got absolutely run out the building in the Rose Bowl. Same thing is true for Indiana, who had the one loss against Ohio State, which ends up winning the national championship, but we didn't know that at the time. And the loss against Notre Dame, right? So that's 2, 1 in conference play. And really your only losses being to the team that you played in the playoffs, Notre Dame, and the team that goes on to win the national championship. And more to the point, the 2 teams that played for the national title in the national championship game in Ohio State and Notre Dame. I think what's fascinating about the Oregon part, though, is that it's the first ever ranked up matchup between these two, which doesn't shock many because Indiana doesn't spend a whole lot of time in the top 25 outside of these really impressive first 18 months with Curt Cignetti in charge. But you're also talking about the second top 10 matchup in the Big Ten this year, Oregon being in that game against Penn State no longer in the top 25. Oregon, who would probably be coming up against the Indiana ceiling if they had not already shown they're capable of winning in the postseason. Indiana, who would have to tell people, hey, those teams were good when we played them. Okay. One of the reasons they're bad is because we handed them losses, which, you know what, turns out to be the truth and having a point there. It's the first meeting between the two since 2004. And curiously, Indiana went to Oregon and won that game 32-24. It's the 4th meeting between them all time, 2-1, though, going to Oregon in the lead. And these are the 2 highest scoring teams, or 2 of the 3 highest scoring teams in the entire country. Oregon being number 1 and Indiana being number 3. Both Dante Moore and Fernando Mendoza lead the Big Ten in passing TDs with 16 and 14, respectively. And then you got your top 2 rushing offenses. Both these teams know how to run the football, with 267.8 on the ground for Indiana and 239.4 on the ground for Oregon. Of course, the caveat here is Indiana had played nobody. Meanwhile, Oregon would be like, Indiana fans would be like, who the hell is Penn State except the team that just lost to 0-4 UCLA? You're trying to tell us that Oregon's played somebody? Well, you're about to play each other, and that's about to be somebody, right? That ain't nobody. That's somebody. Indiana 5-0 coming off the bye week. Last year, they won 20-15 at Iowa. That was a really intense game for them last year. It's really intense for the game for them this year. And I think that you're going to see Tosh Lupoi try to use the Phil Parker recipe and just come after Fernando Mendoza. It was a dude they made very uncomfortable. They made him stand in the pocket against blitzing pressures and throw passes, and he was getting waylaid, getting knocked out. Phil Parker doesn't send a lot of guys normally, but that was one way to get home against Fernando and try to unseat him. And that's what they were able to do. It's also a team that when it gets going in the first quarter is really difficult to stop. They were outstanding in the first quarter last year. They're outstanding in the first quarter this year. And of course, they've got that top 15 win against Illinois when they stomped a mud hole in them and walked dry 63-10. And that is going to linger for Illinois. Even if they're able to do something against Ohio State, which I doubt, still going to linger that Indiana was able to do that to you. It's also the first road win that they would be able to get against a top 10 opponent. Indiana, you might not be shocked to know, is winless on the road against top 10 opponents. And that also includes playing against, the Buckeyes. So you send them on the road, or Notre Dame. You send them on the road, they're 32 straight losses. But think about Vanderbilt being number 1 teams last year and how that can go. I'm also looking at this from the standpoint of, like, is it going to be as high scoring as it has been, with Indiana scoring 47.8 points per game and Oregon scoring damn near that amount too. I mean, we're talking about a team that is holding teams to under 25 points a game all year this season. So the point differential is wild and different, but they're also putting up 46.6 points per game. So could it be high scoring? Maybe, but I doubt it. I think this is going to be a game that could just as easily be 30-28. But some people would call that high scoring. It's got to go back to 2022 versus Washington, the last team to walk into Autzen and get a W against the Ducks. And Dan Lanning has been damn near perfect. With Will Stein as his offensive coordinator, they've been really great. I've also been very impressed by the running back room at Oregon, which is so deep that you got a preseason All-American who is asking to redshirt. That's what Mekhi Hughes did last Wednesday during the bye week. He said, look, y'all are loaded up. You know, you got De'Aaron Hill, you got Jaden Lamar, you got Noah Whittington, you got dudes. And then on the outside, the loss of Evan Stewart hurt, but not as like we thought it would, because Decorian Moore, Malik Benson, and Gary Bryant Jr. have been doing their job. Also, Decorian Moore leads the team with 296 receiving yards as a true freshman. If we didn't have a Jeremiah Smith, we'd be talking about him. But if we didn't have a Jeremiah Smith, we'd be talking more about Carnell Tate. And we're going to talk more about Carnell Tate. But I think the real outlier here, the guy that I'm going to be watching when we're talking about Indiana being an offense, is actually Mateo Uiagalelei at Oregon. That dude has been a monster in the Big Ten this year. 14.5 sacks since 2024 and 4 sacks in 5 games this year. That's pretty remarkable. That's you keep that. So if he gets 11 sacks this year, and let's say he has 20 tackles for loss, he might be in the running for Defensive Player of the Year, because I don't know that they're going to give it to Caleb Downs, even though they might and should, or even Caden Curry or Caden McDonald or even Arvell Reese. I think it's really going to be Mateo Uiagalelei and someone somewhere, an Iowa player somewhere popping up to do something pretty outstanding. Mendoza's been completing 73% of his passes. Moore's been completing 75% of his passes. Can you get home to the quarterback? Can you rattle him? That's an open question. I know this. The guy that usually plays the most football at quarterback usually gives you the edge. Mendoza's played more football than Dante Moore, and Dante Moore showed that he's got the moxie to go win this thing in overtime. But if you are looking at an Indiana team that is capable of getting it done, it'd be this Indiana team. If I'm an Oregon fan, I'm not excited about this game at all. I think that Indiana has shown itself to be capable and willing, and now that they've been able to win a game on the road in the deep water, Iowa, they got to feel pretty good about that as well. Oregon was tested by a Penn State team that we don't think is any good anymore, and that changes the tenor of the conversation. Had Penn State stopped a mud hole in UCLA and walked it dry, we might be talking about how Oregon is just going to one-up Indiana in this game, but I just don't know that it's going to go that well. I'm not confident enough to pick Indiana to win it, not in this job, not as an analyst, not as a national college football analyst, but I'm going to tell you, I would not be shocked and I would not be disappointed. I think both of these teams are really good. I would very much like to see both of them or one of them play in the Big Ten championship. And that's what it's looking like it's going to be. It's looking like the winner of this game is going to play Ohio State in the Big Ten championship. Things continue apace. But we got a lot of football to play, so we'll see.